The purpose of this recording is to provide exemplification of the middle of the CEFR level C1 performance for speaking. We'll talk about indicators of performance that make this test taker typical of the middle of the C1 band. This recording only provides test taker responses. If you would like further context for the questions in this recording, you can find the corresponding test item audio and transcripts in the video Speaking Exemplification. Item audio and transcripts. These are genuine responses from test takers. The responses have not been manipulated in any way. Therefore, there may be responses shorter than the allotted time, or the test taker may run out of time when providing their response. Table 1 shows the alignment of PTE Academic scores to the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, or CEFR. The exemplification materials in this resource have been selected using this alignment. These exemplification materials show responses from test takers who have been classified at each CEFR band based on their PTE Academic speaking score. It should be noted that speaking scores come from the combination of many test items that measure different aspects of language proficiency. The purpose of these exemplars is to show the range of item responses produced by test takers in different CEFR bands and to provide indicative evidence of the key features of speaking performances across and within CEFR language proficiency bands. At mid-C1 level, test takers can deliver clear, detailed descriptions and well-structured presentations about complex subjects, elaborating on ideas, integrating sub-themes, and developing points systematically. Hesitation is infrequent, usually brief, and often comes when searching for more precise or complex language. Errors are rare, though slips might occur when using idiomatic language. For each test item, you will hear the test taker's response first, followed by the commentary on their response.
The bar chart in front of me shows the population of South Africa between the years of 1996 to 2016. There are two colors in this graph. The black one are male and the blue one are females. And I can see in the year of 1996, both male and female were at the lowest. Male were around 20 mil and female were also around 20 mil, which sum it up to be around 40 mil. But when we look at 2016, I can see the rise in population. Male population is around 23 million and female population is about 25 million.
This test taker's response is typical of the mid-C1 level. Though there are some issues with pronunciation and word choice, his description of the image includes all of the main features as well as some details not commonly conveyed in lower-level responses to this task. His response is well-structured, moving from a clear introduction of the topic to a presentation of the most important information in a logical order. The test taker struggles a little with certain vowel sounds, for example, bar, but his speech is consistently clear. Some of his phrasing is unnatural or incorrect, for example when he says, "The black one are male, the blue one are females." Despite this, he speaks very fluently and can always be understood. There are occasional slips in vocabulary and grammar of a kind that can be common at C1 when test takers need to describe technical information. For example, saying which summing up to be around 40 million, instead of something like which in total makes around 40 million.
The speaker was talking about Melbourne and how it developed from old times to new times. So it was talking about Melbourne being a very dispersed city, which is now a developed city. It was talking about how transportation was back in the old days, which was by walking. And it was the only way of transport. But because Melbourne was a really big city, it was really hard for people to keep up. Now it's a modern city using public transport and many, many different types of public transport, from trains to trams to bus lines. It was talking also that nowadays it's not even practical to cycle around the city.
At mid-C1 level, we expect test takers to be able to grasp both the main ideas and the details of a lecture like this. This test taker seems to have fully understood what he has heard, and he attempts to carefully structure his summary by stating key points first, followed by examples. He is cut off by the time limit, preventing him rounding off the summary with an appropriate conclusion. But by this time, he has already demonstrated a high degree of receptive and productive ability. Certain word choices are a little unnatural, for example, new times, but he can always be understood. Similarly, when phonological features retained from his other language or languages are noticeable, for example, his pronunciation of walking, they do not affect intelligibility.
This speech was talking about the university ranking based on student opinions and the advantages and disadvantages of these opinions. It was talking and discussing open days and also that they would like to meet expectation of the students. They were talking about that if we make the university about ranking, it could have some good and bad effects. The bad effect could be that ranking is bad for people who have low self-esteem, and those students might think that they do not belong in that university and that they are not good enough. So they might feel shy, or they might not even, apply for the degrees, and they might not like to even be a part of the university. But on the other hand, having a high ranking in the world and also top level of students is a very, very good for university reputation. Also, it was talking about university making his way to diversity. For example, that the first year students were fresh out of high school, and they would take the lead for the orientation day and get people around and show them everything. In general, these three people in this speech was talking about the precaution of the high-ranking universities, and is it really worthwhile to, see ranking should be a good thing or a bad thing, and how they should portray university out for public, because that can have both good and bad effect.
C1 level ability in relation to understanding conversation involves being able to identify the attitude of different participants in a discussion with overlapping turns. The test taker demonstrates this ability by summarizing the key points and details of the discussion, though he does not always attribute the different perspectives shared in the discussion to the right speakers. He speaks with a high degree of fluency, only seeming to pause when deciding what to say next, not when he is unsure how to say something. Although the other language or languages he speaks seems to influence his accent at times, he can be understood throughout the summary. As we expect at C1 level, he can vary intonation and place stress correctly in order to express precisely what he means. For example, when he says, they might not even apply for their degrees.
Well, I think the best gift in this situation would be something that my friend can remember me by. For example, because they're going away to start university next week, and there are many different gifts that can be given. For example, a flower that can last actually, or maybe a watch or a necklace, or basically jewelries that they last. And when my friend looks at it, she can remember me by. Or if my friend is a male, I can give him like clones or body sprays, or maybe shoes, hats, or stuff like that that he can remember me by. That's what I think.
At C1 level, interaction skills are well developed, allowing for fluent and spontaneous communication in a wide range of situations. This test taker can express his ideas fluently and spontaneously without much searching for words. We expect C1 test takers to be able to justify their opinions through structured reasoning, and he links his ideas together logically in a well-developed response. While he has minor pronunciation issues, he is nonetheless able to vary the prosodic features of language, for example stress and intonation, in a way appropriate to the context, using rising-falling intonation patterns of the kind typical in friendly exchanges of ideas and suggestion-making.
The diagram provides the information of the population in South Africa between 1996 to 2016. The smallest number is the 1996. The largest number is the 2016. The highest is 16 million, and the smallest is 40 million. The information includes the female and the male. It provides very important information of the population.
This response is typical of mid C1 level. The test taker can speak at length without significant hesitation, and she structures her response logically, rounding off with an appropriate conclusion. She uses a mixture of descriptive and comparative language to convey the main features of the chart. There are occasional lexical and/or grammatical errors. For example, when she says information of the population in South Africa rather than about. C1 test takers can sometimes lack awareness of prepositional collocation in this way, but this kind of error rarely hinders communication.
Melbourne is the most dispersed city full of the development. There is limited walking distance for humans. Also, the population and the cars are more and more. For the people, they can't walk and cycling for a long distance, so they use public transport, which is more convenient.
Here, the test taker's summary bears characteristics of C1 level in terms of its clear structure and her fluency, as well as her demonstration of receptive skills in showing she has clearly understood the main ideas of the lecture. She makes a number of lexical and grammatical errors, but they do not impact overall intelligibility. Likewise, her phonological control seems influenced by the other language or languages she can speak at times, particularly with vowel sounds. But we can understand what she is saying throughout.
The speaker feel like it's not sure about why we still need to hold the open day, because there's no need to attract more students because our school already have a very good reputation. If we try to attract more people, we'll just turn down more the application, which will disappoint the applicants. The lady suggests that it is still necessary to provide open day just to provide information to the students if our school can meet their expectation. Another speaker recommends the reputation is good enough, but some students still hesitate or they are not sure or confident enough if they can reply. And the reason for us to hold the open day is to show that no matter students from all backgrounds can apply, and also they can be success if they are talented, so that we can provide a great diversity. At the same time, we have the volunteer and department to support. It is important to answer the questions instead of paint a perfect picture, because the applicants have already know a lot of information about our university. The reason we held the open day is to provide the genuine information.
In response to this summary task, the test taker demonstrates similar strengths and weaknesses to those shown when she retold the lecture. She has clearly understood the vast majority of the group discussion and can convey its main ideas in a fluent, spontaneous, and almost effortless manner, as we expect at mid-C1 level. However, phonological issues and grammatical errors prevent her from attaining a higher level. Though almost always intelligible, she mispronounces certain words, for example, department, to such an extent that it would put strain on a listener. She also makes some grammatical errors characteristic of lower levels. For example, provide the generally information. These issues impact the overall quality of her response.
First of all, I will ask her or ask her close friends and family to know what her interest is. Depends on if, for example, if she's a gym person, probably I'll suggest to gift him some gym products that he can use, such as the towels, the bags, the shoes, etc. Or if she likes reading books, I would suggest to gift her like some ebook vouchers or some like physical books. But the point is really depends on what she's really interested in.
This task requires test takers to demonstrate their ability to interact with spontaneity, and this test taker can do this well. She expresses herself fluently and clearly, with little obvious searching for expressions. She can use a broad range of vocabulary and grammatical structures, as we would expect at C1, including some idiomatic terms, for example a gym person, which demonstrate a comfort in the language. Some basic errors persist, such as inappropriate use of the definite article, for example the towels, the bags, the shoes, etc. But when these issues occur, they do not hinder communication.